Yo, it's me, it's the SCOTT baby, and it's now time. The next chapter in the history of, the Power Rangers. Now, during the run of Power Rangers Wild Force, Fox Kids was nearing its end. And in an effort to save the Power Rangers franchise, Saban sold it to Disney, who ran the the second half of Wild Force on their ABC Kids block on the ABC network. That included the Forever Red crossover special. However, Disney's first full season was Power Rangers Ninja Storm, and starting from here on, it was no longer filmed in America. Instead, the shot footage that wasn't Sentai footage was shot in New Zealand, with most of the Australian and New Zealand cast. To be honest, you could tell sometimes when it was the Australian or New Zealand actor or actress trying to do an American accent. Sometimes it didn't always work right. You know, an accent would pop out here or there. It was, So the first series to do this was Power Rangers Ninja Storm, which, thinking about it, these next two seasons went to a 3-Ranger format at first, with Tori, Shane, and Dustin being the 3 title Rangers. The story goes that an evil space ninja named Lothor, he wants to get revenge on the sensei. He turns him into a guinea pig and captures all of the Ninja Academy students, except for Tori, Shane, and Dustin, and the sensei's son Cam. Because Tori, Shane, and Dustin were late, like they always are, and they were told not to be late, but they were late again, and it's a good thing to work because they weren't captured. They become the Wind Power Rangers, and they are tasked with trying to stop Lothor. In their journeys, they meet Blake and Hunter, who are 2 BMX brothers. But they are secretly the evil Thunder Rangers, and their story is when they were younger, Lothor attacked and did the same thing with the Thunder Ninja Academy as he did with the Wind Ninja Academy. And he basically brainwashed Hunter and Blake into thinking it was the Wind Academy that was behind it. But eventually they find out the truth and they become good guys, and there's the 5-Ranger team. But it's the only one to have 2 different Blue Rangers, 2 different Red Rangers at the same time, as they were Navy Blue and Crimson Red, which is different. The 6th Ranger was Cam, in a story that sees Lothor bringing out a monster that's so powerful they need help from the Samurai Amulet, which was lost to time. Cam uses the Scrolls of Time to go back in time to get it. And then this is where we get the actual reveal backstory of Lothor and the Sensei. They're actually brothers, twin brothers, which fits into the fact that as adults they were both played by the same actor. So that's kind of cool how they kind of put that together. I think it was Grant McFarlane was the actor. I don't know. And Cam gets the green Samurai Amulet, and he also sees the creation of Lothor when Lothor is banished from the Wind Ninja Academy and becomes Lothor. His name was like Kai or something before that, or something. And so that's your Rangers there. And yeah, they defeat Lothor by sending him to the Abyss of Evil, which fits into the crossover for the next season, which was Power Rangers Dino Thunder, which by the end of this they don't have any powers, but this one kind of rewrites some of Tommy's canon here. At the beginning of this, we are shown that Tommy is a archaeologist who is now going to be a science teacher for Riverside High. And he was working with a Dr. Anton Mercer, who supposedly died several years earlier. We find out that's not the truth, and that he's still alive, and he has an adoptive son named Trent. Most things I've seen call him Trent Mercer, but he's actually Trent Fernandez. That's his actual name. They call him that when he's first introduced and everything. That's what it was. So the story here is that Connor, Kira, and Ethan are 3 students who get sentenced to detention, and they're forced to try to find fossils by Dr. O. And if they do that, then they can get, if they find anything worth, anything, they can get out of detention for the entire week. He doesn't want to be there either. What they find is a secret cavern with 3 dino gems, which turns out is actually a secret bunker underneath Tommy's house. Now, the reason I say it rewrites his canon is that here it's stated that after he graduated, he ended up becoming an archaeologist and doing all this stuff with Dr. Mercer, where 2 years earlier, we saw him owning a country club with Broken Skull. Which is why it's confusing. You see what I'm saying here? But yeah. Sorry, dry skin, itch. And it's eventually revealed that Dr. Mercer, Anton Mercer, is actually Mesogog, and that his right-hand man is actually the research assistant that was mad at Tommy for something, I don't know. And Tommy, there's a 2-part type episode. It's actually sort of 3-part. At the end of one episode, Tommy gets kidnapped and is held captive and is going to be forced to activate the Black Dino Gem. During this, the Rangers watched a computer program that shows the history of all the Rangers from Mighty Morphin to Ninja Storm. And we were previously introduced to Haley as the owner of this sort of bar type deal for teenagers. And it turns out she's working with Tommy, and they met during college. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I just don't know. Tommy becomes a Black Ranger, and there's that. Then the bad guys find a secret white Dino Gem, which Mesogog uses special beams or something to turn evil, and Trent eventually gets a hold of it when he finds out his father is Mesogog, and he becomes evil, and there's this whole thing. It's a great story arc where he's fighting for control, and eventually he becomes a good guy. They defeat Mesogog after Mesogog expels Dr. Mercer from him and becomes this big hulking monster, and it's up to the 3 original Rangers to kind of use their dino powers to win. It's pretty cool. And it kind of ends at the next season, Power Ranger SPD, which took us to the future, and battling aliens and giant robots, which is weird, and had sort of I like the story in this, is that Cam, who's the Blue Ranger, I think it's Cam, or Sky, I don't know why I said Cam. Sky, who's the Blue Ranger, his father was a Red Ranger sometime in the past, even though he doesn't know any of the Rangers we knew. Maybe it was, but this is sometime in the friggin' future. It could have been any time, sometime. Maybe we'll see a future incarnation. Probably not. But he wants to be a Red Ranger like his father, and he, Bridge, and Sid are tasked with being the B Squad Power Rangers. When they morph, though, Sky is angry to find out he's a Blue Ranger. And then these 2 street thieves end up becoming the Yellow and Red Rangers, which anger him more because he doesn't think a street thief should be Red Ranger. And there's this constant argument, and you could say this story goes on too long, where Sky is just kind of pouting because he didn't get what he wanted. By the end, though, there is a 2-part story, in which Sky has to face the alien monster who killed his father. And he actually uses the Red Ranger power and Battleizer to take him down, which is a cool story. And then, in the end, well, let's not skip forward ahead. There's the Omega Ranger, which is actually Sam, who was a kid that Z, the Yellow Ranger, saved at one point. And he ended up becoming part of SPD in the future. He goes back in time, but for some reason, they didn't have an actor for him. He's just a little white ball when he's not morphed. So that was kind of lame. And then there's a Nova Ranger which comes to rescue him, and you briefly see an actor, which ends up being Tyzon in a later season, I think. I don't know. But like the end, Grum is the big bad guy. Doggy Kruger, I forgot about it, their commander, he becomes a Shadow Ranger. First ever alien dog to become a Power Ranger, but that's pretty cool. And in the end, Jack and Z retire to, do what they were doing before, but this time legally. And Sky becomes the Red Ranger. And as a consequence, Bridge becomes the Blue Ranger. We find out in the Once Ranger crossover in Operation Overdrive that eventually Sky will become the commander. And thus, supposedly the Shadow Ranger. And Bridge becomes the Red Ranger. And it was all only probably because they couldn't get the actor to come back, but yeah, pretty decent season, decent monsters, decent bad guys. Grum is a pretty cool bad guy, that's him. And he actually comes back in, not here, Samurai, in human form, different character, good guy. They use actors sometimes. Kelvin Henderson the most. After this was Mystic Force. There was 2 crossovers in this one, which had the Dino Thunder Rangers come back. One was where it's just the 3 main ones come back. They're sent to the future with the Dino Gems. Because the bad guys want to use them, but they don't join the bad guys, of course. And the second one is Wormhole, where we get all 5 Rangers, except for, I guess, Jason David Frank wasn't available for filming, so he's never seen outside of his Ranger suit. And Jeffrey Perazzo, who played Trent, actually does the voice for Tommy, which is weird. They couldn't have Jason David Frank come in to do a voice or something. I don't know. Maybe he's busy. I don't know. He's a busy guy. But, yeah. Mystic Force was next, and for I always remember this one for the 3-part Dark Wish thing, but this one gets complicated. It's this new guy, Nick, he comes into Briarwood, and he connects with these 4, and they eventually become the Power Rangers. And down the line, there's a lot more revealed about Nick than previously thought. Like, he's a wanderer. He never felt like he belonged anywhere, and then he got here, and he didn't leave. He was going to, but for some reason he came back. There's, trying to think. Eventually the 5 Rangers come across a lamp which releases Genji, and there's a frog, and the frog ends up being Daggeron, who is the Solaris Knight, and a bodyguard for Udana, who is the sorceress. And she has a little apprentice named Claire who can't do magic. She messes up all the time. She's like the female Broken Skull. So yeah, the 5 Rangers are Nick, Maddie, Chip, Xander, and Ziva, Zeta, Veda, Vita, I think. And Xander is the one that he's a Green Ranger, but he's funny because he'll try to solve things with like talking and a handshake, and it never works, but he always tries to do it. And then Daggeron is the Gold or Solaris Knight, whatever. Eventually it's revealed that Korag, who is like the right-hand man to the Master, as he's called, is actually Udana's husband, Leonbo. And it's actually revealed that Nick is their son, is their son who was lost years ago, found, and adopted by a new family. And now he's back, save the world, stuff like that. They also have I think his name is Toby, their boss at the record store, which is alright. And, magic and stuff, like the Dark Wish is where this mummy guy who takes over for the Master temporarily, he gets control of Genji's lamp and wishes that the Power Rangers never existed. And they have to try to survive and get Genji back and wish everything back to normal, and they actually get help from these ancient ones, whatever they're called. It's pretty cool. This is a decent season. You know, the thing with this is, these were all like going between ABC and Jetix at the time. ABC Kids and Jetix, and I think this was primarily at Jetix, but they did have ABC Kids. The next season, however, would be kind of weird. Indiana Jones meet the Power Rangers. That's what it is. Operation Overdrive. And that one has Andrew Hartford, who's like an Indiana Jones type character, who is searching for the Corona Aurora. He finds it, but he needs their help to protect it and find the jewels of the Corona Aurora. And he selects Ronnie, Will, I can see him, Ronnie, Will, Dax, and Rose to be the Power Rangers, and he himself, Andrew Hartford, will be the Red Ranger. He's an example of his accent not going away. His accent is very prevalent, and I guess his son Mac also has sort of an accent, so it works. But Mac eventually, when Andrew Hartford is unable to use the morpher, Mac does, but he's very protective of his son, and eventually we find out why. And there's a story arc where Moltor, I think his name is, he has this weird dinosaur lava creature guy named Tyzon. Turns out he's a Mercurian, and he actually wants revenge because, like, Moltor, I think his name's Moltor, invaded his planet, and he's trying to find his girlfriend. He becomes a Mercury Ranger, and he's their sixth. Eventually find out that Mac, the Red Ranger, is actually an android, and that's why they had to calibrate when he was a Red Ranger. I guess. I never really cared for that twist. It was kind of like out of nowhere. Didn't really like it, but it was okay. Eventually they get all the pieces to the crown. What I liked about this is that they were, I don't know if they were anticipating DVD, because back then they were doing volumes. I don't know if they were anticipating DVD volumes, but like each volume of the DVDs, when they were coming out in volumes, each disc had, it was 5 different volumes, and each one had a set of episodes that ended with them finding a jewel for the Corona Aurora. It was kind of weird. It was set episodes, you found the pearl. Set episodes, you found another one. Set episodes, another one. So there's another one, set episodes, another one, and the finale, which, you know, was decent. This one has the Once a Ranger crossover where, in this version, there's like 3 factions of bad guys. I think there's 4. There's Moltor, there's Furious, the Cats, and the blue guy with the samurai chick. I forget their names. And eventually, they're brought together by Lord Zed and Rita's son, who canonically cannot exist because supposedly he was locked by the Century Knight or Century Knight, whatever, centuries ago. But Lord and Zed did not get married till 1994, and they never had no kids. They became human, so the kid would be human. It makes no sense. But because the Thrax, as he's called, shows up with these and brings all the bad guys together, the Rangers lose their powers when Thrax attacks the morphing grid. So the Centurion Knight brings back Adam, the original Black Ranger, or not, Adam, the Black Ranger from Mighty Morphin, Kira from Dino Thunder, the Yellow Ranger, Xander, the Green Ranger from Mystic Force, Tori, the Blue Ranger from Ninja Steel, or Ninja Storm, or not Ninja Steel, Ninja Storm, and Bridge, who is now the Red SPD Ranger. And they become temporary Power Rangers for now, and then their other Rangers get their power back eventually. It's a neat crossover. It's like 15th anniversary crossover. It's decent, and yeah, decent season, but it's just a rap theme. Next we had Jungle Fury, and this one was the first one I remember seeing was airing. Like most of these were going back and forth, but this one I remember was airing exclusively first on the Jetix block, and then ABC Family or ABC Kids. And this one is Jungle Fury, and it featured the Pai Schwa Academy, where actually there are 3 people chosen, and it's Theo, Lily, and Jared. But Jared is an asshole and goes off on this Cub student who happens to be Casey. And Jared gets kicked out, Casey gets brought in, and in a fit of rage, Jared accidentally releases the spirit of Daishi from his captivity, gets taken over by it, and becomes Daishi. And there's this chameleon, I forget her name, but she's with him. And you eventually find out she's in love with Daishi or Jared, whatever. And they're taken to this Pai Schwa master, which defined as a guy who owns a pizza shop. And his name is RJ. And at first, they like, we can't find a master. They go to this Asian guy and think it's him. It's not him. Let me explain. They have to find a new master because their master is, quote unquote, killed by Daishi. He becomes a spirit, but, and eventually RJ becomes the first ever Purple Ranger, and only one so far. The Wolf Ranger, I forget what it's called. Violet Wolf or something like that. And eventually they meet Dominic, who was a student of RJ's who left, and he is the White Rhino Ranger. And Daishi eventually rebels against this. There's the whole bunch of these beast animal things. Once it gets later in the season, it gets more complicated. It's very simple. Daishi wants to conquer the world. And then there's another set of like legendary evil beasts or something that come around, and it gets very confusing. But in the end, Daishi joins the Rangers, or he becomes Jared again, because Daishi, Jared, whatever, Jared, and of course they win. No crossover in this one, which was weird. Finally, we get Power Rangers RPM, which I liked the original theme they had, because like leading up to this, there was a theme that was on YouTube that I really liked, and I was excited to see what the opening would really look like, because they're only showing like it was a fake opening, but I figured the song was going to be the same. It wasn't. The song they use is terrible. Power Rangers RPM, get it gear. Power Rangers RPM, we stick together. Stupid. The other one's much better. This one takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where a evil virus called Fengix has taken over the world, except for one little domed area called Corinth City. First episode, we see the genesis of our Rangers. Flynn has driven a bus full of people to safety. And then Scott, that's right, Scott and what's her name? Summer are racing on a motorcycle, and eventually they become the red, blue, and yellow Power Rangers. Now, a few years later, or sometime later, they're already Rangers, and we meet up with Dylan, who's driving around in his cool little black vehicle, black car, and he meets up with Ziggy, and they have to go to the dome, and when they get there, they're arrested, thinking that they can't be trusted. But there's like cameras and stuff of a fight that they got into that Dylan's pretty good, so they went Dylan to be part of the Power Rangers. But he makes a deal. He's not going anywhere without Ziggy for some reason. He becomes the Black Ranger. And then another episode has Ziggy trying to find a perfect Green Ranger. They find this girl, her name is Tanaya. Turns out she's working for Venjix, and Ziggy because once you put it on, your DNA is connected to it. To make sure she can't get a hold of it, he activates it on himself, and he becomes Green Ranger, which Dr. K doesn't like him at all. Eventually, Dr. K is this, not a little girl, but she's this little sized girl professor who created all this stuff. And don't call it spandex, she don't like that. It's eventually revealed that she grew up in a little outpost called Alphabet Soup, where she was working with Gem and Gemma, who, on the day Venjix was, woken up, activated, were supposedly killed. It's also revealed that Dr. K created Venjix because they wouldn't let her out of Alphabet Soup. They were using her to build technology. And so she created it so she could leave, but they drag her away before she can shut it down. So it's part her fault, part their fault, because they wouldn't let her explain. And Gem and Gemma are presumed dead, but they show up as the Gold and Silver Rangers later. And eventually, they defeat Venjix. I also find out that Tanaya is actually Dylan's sister. And Dylan is also part robot. They were experimented on by Venjix, and that's why he doesn't have any memory of it. Eventually, they connect. And, of course, there's some kind of, love interest in Summer. And at the end, Dylan, Summer, and Tanaya, I don't remember her real name, there's a real name, they end up leaving in Dylan's cool car. And the thing I like is at the beginning, they show Dylan watering this little flower. And then at the end, when they get ready to leave and stuff, they pull over and Dylan waters the same flower again. I always thought it was pretty cool. This season was really the one I was like, yeah, this is a good season. Because I thought it was really great, the whole post-apocalyptic, the whole robot thing. And Ziggy is funny as hell. And, yeah. And then Disney done fucked up. Let me tell you. After this, Disney decided not to bring in a new series, but instead to show reruns of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But they messed with it. They added comic book stuff to it, weird graphics. It was all messed up. And it didn't go over well with fans, especially me, because I thought it was stupid. I was rewatching them because I was wanting to get to the 5-parter, because at the time I didn't have no DVDs of it yet. So I wanted to record the 5-part Green Ranger, Green with Evil stuff, but that didn't work out. They did have a bunch of them, but eventually, Saban, Haim Saban saw this, bought the rights back from Disney, and he took his ass to Nickelodeon, where they brought the franchise back after a year in 2011 is when the franchise came back new with Nickelodeon, and that'll be the subject of the next video. But yeah, that's your Disney. Not as long as the last one. This is your Disney history of the Power Rangers. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of this. Like, share, and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. May the power protect you. Should have done the last one.